Today, we're talking about a film that made me question what reality even is. Symbiopsychotaxiplasm from 1968. And if you think the title is confusing, it's a documentary documenting the making of a documentary that is documenting the making of a film. Let me explain. At all times, there are 3 different cameras, each focusing on a different perspective. The first one is filming a pair of actors who are auditioning for an upcoming movie. The second one is filming the first one to document the behind-the-scenes process, and then yet another one is filming both of them, as well as capturing all the spontaneous moments that inevitably happen. I'll be honest, watching this for the first time felt like trying to solve a puzzle with half the pieces missing. I had so many questions and not a single clear answer. It was confusing, disorienting, and overwhelming. And yet, incredibly captivating. There was something so unique about it that I kept rewatching it over and over. It was this mystery that I really wanted to unravel, like an obsessed crazy person. And by the end, I suspect what might seem like pure chaos could be so groundbreaking that even now, over half a century later, is still ahead of its time. Wait. If what I think is happening is actually happening, this is mind-blowing. But first, a bit of a backstory. In the spring of 1968, William Greaves, an actor turned director, set out to capture reality in its purest form. As a documentary filmmaker, he wanted to examine a real, spontaneous creative process. But the question was, is that even possible? Based on Heisenberg's uncertainty principle, which initially inspired the idea, he knew that just like quantum particles behave differently when observed by a scientist, people do the same thing when a camera is around. So how do you capture the truth when the act of filming it is already a lie? It starts like a perfectly normal behind-the-scenes documentary. We see a few pairs of actors doing a screen test, the director giving instructions, the crew dealing with some typical production issues, and just life happening around, like people curious about what's being filmed or a police officer checking if they have a permit. It feels very authentic. It's like a home video. It's almost like a modern-day vlog, but in the 60s, and without asking you to subscribe all the time. But because there are so many different perspectives, it can also appear very unfocused. There is so much happening, but at the same time, who is this about? Who's the main subject? Is it the actors who have to do a really bad scene over and over again? Is it the director who still doesn't know the ending or the plot, for that matter, of his own film he's making? Is it the crew members who are working on something that has no clear vision or idea behind it? Or is it all the random people that just show up? Like, what story are we trying to see unfold? There are multiple layers to this, and they're all unfolding at the same time. Literally. We often see a 2- and 3-way split screen to show us the same thing from a different perspective. In a way, we as the audience get to decide which reality matters the most, but regardless which one you choose, you're never quite sure it's the actual truth. More on that later. As I was watching, the one person that stood out to me the most, despite him not really being the main focus, was William Greaves himself. He's the director of both this documentary and the feature film being made inside of it, and the reason he got my attention was because he seemed oddly out of place. For someone working on 2 movies at the same time, he was a bit too unfocused and too indecisive, and it didn't take long before people got frustrated.
Take it easy, take it easy, take it easy.
Why should I take it easy? What?
It's going very well.
It is not, and you know it.
The dialogue he wrote for the test scene, for example, was cheesy to say the least, and having the actors do it over and over again not only annoyed them, but even a crew member had to call him out for making him listen to something as ridiculous as that. He seems like a director with no vision, no plan, and no ideas. And it eventually gets so bad that the crew members decide to secretly meet without him and record themselves discussing if he's completely out of his mind incompetent, or some kind of a genius with a non-traditional method.
The director, Bill Greaves, has no perspective. And if you ask him, what is the film about? He just gives you some answer that's just vaguer than the question.
Maybe it would be more useful to talk about how interesting the non-direction is.
He doesn't know how to direct.
No, I think that the basic premise is wrong, because I think that a director's film is
is his mind.
And honestly, I was wondering the same. It's a very unconventional documentary. Those split screens were not at all common back in the day. And there is this moment where the reel just breaks and we hear a strange editing note.
Personal note from Mr. Rosen to the assistant editor.
There's no clear beginning, ending, structure, or even a point. It's just a collection of seemingly random moments put together for the sake of it. So I was ready to dismiss it as just another experimental, avant-garde, art house, whatever you want to call it, film. But as mentioned, there was something about it that kept pulling me back. The constant search for the truth. I genuinely don't know what the reality of this is. From the overdramatic bad acting to the bad dialogue, bad director, eccentric strangers, and crew members making amateur mistakes, everything feels real and at the same time none of it. And where things get really interesting is that the film itself becomes aware of that, with the people in it breaking the fourth wall and questioning that exact same thing as well.
For all anybody knows, Bill is standing right outside the door and he's directing this whole scene. All right, it could be. Nobody knows. Maybe we're all acting. Nobody out there knows whether or not we're for real.
At the same time, I couldn't shake off the feeling that there was something odd about William Greaves. He just had this look on his face, like he knew something that no one else was able to see. So I looked into his background and it simply didn't make sense. He was anything but incompetent. By the late 60s, he already had decades of experience working on high-profile documentary projects, from making educational films for the United Nations and NASA, to tackling important civil rights and social issues as an executive producer of Black Journal, for which he won an Emmy Award. He was also a successful actor on Broadway and studied in the prestigious Actors Studio, which is especially known for teaching method acting. He then moved to Canada, where he studied every part of the filmmaking process before returning to America and earning opportunities as an independent filmmaker while racism was still a major barrier. So I refused to believe that someone as accomplished as himself, who seems so thoughtful and calculated in interviews, would make such a incompetent, nonsensical documentary. And then it hit me, as I was reading about him. One little sentence. Before becoming an actor, producer, director, and a legendary filmmaker, he studied science and engineering. He was fascinated by scientific concepts. Remember how the whole idea for the documentary came about? From quantum mechanics. And the title of the film? It's not as random as it sounds. It comes from Symbiopsychotaxiplasm, a term from a book on social theory, about how life shapes the way we think and act, and how in turn, what we do changes the world around us. William Greaves had learned everything there is to know about making traditional documentaries. He knew every rule in the book, and now he wanted to break all of them. Not by just making a film, but by treating it like a science experiment. And for me, thinking of it like that changes everything. He's not indecisive anymore, but an observer and instigator. Like a scientist in a lab, he says just enough to provoke his test subjects, but not enough to give them any direction, so they have no choice but to act naturally, to figure it out for themselves and let the experiment run its course. Call me crazy, I may be looking way too much into this, but I think that this particular moment holds the key to a lot of the answers. They're recording one of their secret meetings and they're talking about how this whole thing could be an experiment, and even suggesting that the director is the one behind it, and someone even compares him to a god, and then it cuts to him laughing. Now why is that important? Because it was William Greaves himself who edited this film. He had over 55 hours of footage, so he had to be incredibly selective when deciding on what to include and where to put it. And this particular little moment, to me, feels a little bit too convenient to be just a random coincidence. And then it gets even deeper. What if the real subject of this experiment is not the actors, not the director, not the bystanders, and not even the crew members, but us? The audience. We simply don't know what's real. We don't know if anyone is in on it or not. We don't even know if it's a real documentary or a fake pseudo-documentary. If you get the DVD, In it, you'll find this little booklet that contains some of his personal notes as he was working on this film. And there, we can get a bit of a better understanding. He writes that the film must be simplicity itself. Ironically, it should not force any symbolism and yet be a series of analogies, metaphors, and similes. So, could there also be an element of social commentary by putting himself, as incompetent as he wanted to appear, in a position of power and seeing if the crew would just follow him blindly or do something about it? Rumors of unrest and revolution in the crew should develop, should lead to encounters with the director. This whole thing was planned. And here's a personal note. Refuse to give a total explanation of the film. This film must be susceptible to analysis, and yet it must be as unfathomable as the cosmos. It's like the psychology test. We all see it differently. If I was to ask every single one of you what you think is going on in this film, you're all going to give me a completely different answer. In order to capture the truth, he gave up control and essentially created reality TV way before that was even a thing, and managed to do it so masterfully that no one even realized it. Now, this is not something you play on a Friday night or when you have a date over, unless you want them to leave, I suppose. It's not for everyone, it will challenge you, but all I can say is that the more times I saw it, the more I liked it. So that's Symbiopsychotaxiplasm. Have you seen it? Do you want to see it? What do you think of it? Let me know in the comments below, I read all of them, and I'll see you in the next one.